You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sherisse Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader. The Oxford Dictionary describes permission as the action of officially allowing someone to do a particular thing, consent, authorization. What if you were that someone and you gave yourself the permission to be everything you wanted to be and more? No more playing small and accepting less than. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, regardless of what it is that you've been through. And honestly, it's exactly what you've been through that shaped you into the version of yourself that you are now. Like a diamond, you've endured so much, but instead of breaking, you've become stronger and brighter. And if that's not a reason to shine, then I don't know what is. And if nature can do it, then why the hell can't you? You are brave, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are enough. Hear my call and give yourself the permission to shine, because you don't realise how many people are inspired by your light. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 64. And it's just me today. I just thought I'd jump on because obviously I record one a week, right? It's not like I just jumped on randomly. It's quite early for me actually, to be honest, and I've had the most beautiful August that I could possibly ever have asked for. And I think if you've been listening since last year, you will know that this time last year we were in Venus retrograde and I had to uproot. There was lots of trauma that came back up to the surface and I had to re-heal and revisit some wounds. But since that happened, obviously, just in my nature, my character, I looked at myself and I thought, what can I do in this situation? So since last year, and this was all overlapping on my birthday. So last year's birthday, if you remember, or if you're new to listening, I just had, obviously from being from a trauma background, there's always things that are going to come up from the past, especially with the astrological transits. And that's why astrology plays a role in the work that I do, because there's often influences, like, for example, Chiron is the wounded healer. So often when Chiron is conjunct anything, you're going to relive some trauma wounds, right? But when Venus, the planet of like love, abundance, finances, is in retrograde, it's a chance for us to reflect, but it's also a chance for all of these things that we've kind of kept hidden to come to the surface. So what I always say with healing and doing the healing work for yourself is that you heal more and more each layer you go through. And every time you heal, obviously you're going to get to a new level of where you're at, but every level has its own, process in which you have to move up. It's a bit like a video game if you want to think about it like that. You have to go through that level and there's obviously obstacles along the way, but each time, it gets either, in a video game it doesn't necessarily get easier the higher up you go, but in life I think it does, because what I've learned is you gain more tools. So when you are faced with problems that you had, or traumas that you experienced when you were younger, you didn't have the tools then. So that's why our body goes into survival mode, because it doesn't know how to get to the end of that situation or through that situation in any other way than to just survive through it, right? So now, having gone through obviously all of those things as a young person, to then embarking on my healing journey, whenever like anything comes up for me, like a limiting belief or an old trauma room or wound or a pattern, I know exactly what I need to do for myself, because obviously I've worked through it. So for example, emotions have a cycle, so they need to complete in your body. So if you're feeling a sense of fear, anxiety, or pain of any sort, you need to allow that to move through your body. So what I used to do was suppress that emotion, right? And unfortunately, it builds up like a ticking time bomb. You explode. So that could be you go off on a rampage or angry. Could be that you have an emotional breakdown, you cry for a week. It could be that you go into a depressive spiral and you don't want to speak to anyone, just want to lock yourself away. This is where we haven't processed our emotions. Whereas if you allow yourself to experience and express that emotion that you're feeling, that is, so the opposite of depression is expression, right? That's like a little thing, a little saying, right? So all your emotions want to do is be expressed. So if you're angry, even for like 2 minutes, like the other day, funny enough, Mercury retrograde, I was driving back from a rehearsal. Now, bearing in mind, obviously, I'm not dancing full time anymore. I'm just doing it for fun, which is so much of a beautiful shift in my life. Cannot tell you the way that I feel about dance now. Again, is just again pure love and all of the things. But on the way home, they'd shut the motorway. So you know what the sat nav's like? It wants to take you back onto the motorway. So I had to try and find another way around, and it kept looping around, looping around, looping around. And I was like, nah, in the car. I just had a little scream. And then after that, I just settled back down again. I was like, oh, I'm glad I let that out. Whereas before, I would have let that bottle up inside of me. I might have got home. I might have been in a shitty mood for like a couple of days. You know, like, I mean, it is all of that. Now, I say a couple of days. I don't think I've ever been someone that's held on to a grudge for a couple of days, but I know a lot of people that do, right? I'm not saying any names, but I do know a few people like that. And that's their truth, right? It's not up to me to go round and just, wave my healing hand on everyone. That's just not what I'm here for. I only work with people that want my help and support. And that's a really big thing because, I meet so many people that are like, oh, so and so would really benefit from speaking to you. And I'm like, yeah, cool. When they're ready, they'll come to me, you know? That's just it. You can't play God in anyone else's life. And I'm definitely not trying to play God to anyone, by the way, just FYI. But what I wanted to bring up to you right there was the fact that, yeah, it's just identifying like what we've going through, how we're feeling, and allowing it to move through us. Mercury is still in retrograde, so hence why my vocals and some of the words are kerfuffling still, because Mercury's just like, hey, and we've only got one more week of it if you're listening to time. So yeah. And also, if you're not listening to time, you're listening back thinking, oh, what was happening in August? There was a Mercury retrograde. So there's also lots of planets in retrograde, but I do feel like generally, especially from the Lionsgate portal, there's been so much shifts, especially in my life. As I said, like I've prioritized rest this month. I cannot tell you how rich my life feels as a result of it. And I think that my whole life I've been pushing forward, as I always say. So when I stop completely and allow myself to be and experience life fully, is so transformative, because I then can see where all of the seeds I've planted are now blossoming, and I'm getting to harvest the fruit from the hard work that I've put in. And that's such a beautiful full circle moment for me, because as I said, this time last year, I had to let go of some people in my life. I had to set new boundaries, and I had to find a new way of communicating that was healthy and assertive, that still illustrated my boundaries, but to a point where people knew that I wasn't to be messed with in terms of where I would stretch to. Because when you have been through a lot in your life, you are more lenient than a lot of people. And I think because I had such a explosive way of speaking, for example, I don't think it was always well received, let's say. And equally, that's not an excuse for my aggression that I had, but we only know what we know when we know it, right? So I don't shame myself for those times. I did go through a space of doing that, and it's not healthy. We can't eradicate any part of us, nor can we shame ourselves for it. We have to integrate everything. So I'm very okay with all parts of me now. And I understand that the reason I acted in certain ways at certain times in my life was because I didn't know any better. And, in those moments now, when I'm met with people that have a similar, communication style that I did back then, all they want to do is feel seen and heard, and I think a lot of people did the opposite of that when I was in that space, which was really difficult. So yeah, I think because I knew pain so well, I didn't want anyone else to feel pain, and that's why I did overly people please, and I saw validation in being needed all of the time, to the point where I spent my whole life doing that, attending to other people's needs and not my own. Whereas this summer was such a declaration of self-love for me, because I was able to just really pour into myself. And although I've been doing that for the last 4 years and 8 months on my healing journey, doing it at this point was just really magical. And I've said about, I went to Glastonbury, and that was all a magical experience, but even down to friends taking me away and treating me and all of these things. And what I know for sure is, more than anything, when we don't feel safe, we can't receive. I'm going to say that again. When we don't feel safe, we can't receive because you are in a fear response. So if anyone says to you, oh, would you like me to do that for you? Or can I help you? You are thinking that they are a threat to you. And I know that from the way I used to be. I wanted to do everything on my own. I didn't want any handouts. Like I would, I've said this before, but I would go to my jobs like performing, and I'd have bags of like equipment and like all sorts of things, and I was doing like the flyer performing stuff, and I would just carry all of the bags on my back, be in pain, and just be like, no, I could do it all. And the bouncers that are like big massive burly men would be like, love, let me help you please. And I was like, no. Whereas when I started to actually be aware of that myself, I did start to allow help. But it's like, why are you doing that? And I speak to so many people, especially like clients and potential clients, that say to me, I don't trust people. And there's an old way I used to be, which was I didn't trust anyone until they proved to me that they were trustworthy. And that is, the biggest sign of an abandonment wound. That is literally it. That's like waving that flag. I've been abandoned. And, when it's been over several times in your life as well, it's hard. And I understand that. And for those people, we have to show so much compassion. All you need to do is be genuine in those spaces as well with people, because they can sense when you're not. Now, people in those situations, like for me, for example, I didn't want a people pleaser around me. I could not stand like someone that would be overly sweet and overly lovely, because for me, that was the opposite of what I was. So I'd find that really uncomfortable. Now, that is obviously a sign of my trauma, right? It's not their problem. It's not their fault. But I think people feel like they've got to be overly nice to people in those situations that have been through hard things, when actually they much prefer you to just be grounded in who you are, and then they come to you, right? It's a bit like the cat and dog analogy. Like dogs are really happy and want to be petted by everyone, whereas cats will come to you when they want to be petted. That's kind of a bit like how you have to navigate the space with traumatized people, And I say traumatized people, I mean people that have experienced a lot of trauma, and or people that are introverted as well. It's kind of similar in a way, obviously completely not, but what I mean is the behavior expression is similar, not the actual core level emotional state of being, just to clarify for anyone there that feels offended. But obviously in this space, hopefully by listening to me, that you already know kind of my take on things. And I feel like, again, with that, people are going to be offended no matter what you say sometimes, and that's okay. And that's something that I've really come to terms with in my life. And it's really funny, I've reconnected recently with someone that I'd kind of had to not be friends with because of another friend that I was friends with, like one of those dynamics. And then now I'm not friends with that person. I reconnected with this person, and it was really funny that we were kind of talking about how the dynamics of friendship are, and all of the things. And it's just, I can't remember what my point was going to be here now, but yeah, I just feel like, I think I was going to talk about shifts and changes. Ah, yes, that was it. Being the villain in someone's story, which obviously I speak about quite a lot anyway, but it really is just being okay with whatever someone wants to think about of you. You just need to be okay with, because I am not going to defend my honor to someone that doesn't think I'm worthy of honor, right? Why would I waste my breath? Like, I'm just okay now with being like, cool, yeah, okay. So if someone wants to say to me that, I'm a liar, for example, which is actually a really painful one for me, that's like a low blow, but I will take it. I'd say, if that's what you believe, okay. There's like a Buddhist quote about that as well, like the Buddhist, he was lifted up by the people, thought that everyone thought he was amazing, and then a young girl said that she'd been assaulted by him, and then he just said, what you believe is true, something like that. He just kept saying, what if you believe that's true, then that's fine. And then it came out that obviously he wasn't the perpetrator. And then when they were all saying sorry to him, he was again like, well, what you believe is true. It's that saying that, to remain impartial in all situations, and that goes for celebrity culture, which, a bit of a side note, but with this new shift that we're having with Pluto and Aquarius, we are breaking down the patriarchal cycle, but also how we see celebrities and influence. And Aquarius is all about rule breaking and individuality. And that's really what's going to come up now for us in the mainstream media. So just pay attention to that, especially September to November, we've got Pluto back in Capricorn for that last 4 months. So anything that was connected to that in your chart is going to come back forward. So basically what you've learned since 2008 is going to be mirrored back to you in this time to see how far you've grown, all of those things, even the government structures and things. We're going to start to see just really the cracks are going to start to show, which should be really interesting. And it's really funny because even a couple of years ago, I remember saying to my family, like, watch what happens in these next few years. And it's just been interesting to say, do you remember I told you that? Do you remember? And they're like, how does this astrology even know this stuff? It's so funny. But for me, this is why I love astrology, because to be honest, I didn't start off with a real great knowledge of astrology, but just over invested my time into it over the last few years, it really does for me play a I guess it's that evidence, to what you're feeling and thinking when you feel it, obviously emotionally, but also see it, and then you look at the stars on the chart, you're like, that makes so much sense. It's just crazy, as I always speak about. But we're going to start to see the crumble of people wanting to follow celebrity culture, and even down to creators that are doing, for example, the viral videos and stuff like that. That's all going to start to break open because people want realness now. People don't want to follow someone that maybe overly filters their content, things like that. People are looking for other people that are living the same expression and experience and telling them the truth. That's really it. And I think, to be honest, we've always wanted the truth as a society, but we are so wrapped up in that herd culture that if someone else believes it, then we'll believe it too. My friend believes that, I'm going to believe it, right? It's that knowing. Whereas when you start to embark on your healing journey, you start to realize that you are, although we are interconnected with everyone in everything, and there's so much oneness, you equally have autonomy over your own thoughts and feelings. And that is in itself that beautiful right of sovereignty, which is the inspiration. And that when you have that for yourself, you light up like a little light on a grid, and people can see you thinking differently. They want to know what you're thinking and why. And this is how I guess you start a community and a movement, and I guess to an extent that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Even just sharing my thoughts and feelings is an expression of me, I guess saying my thoughts and feelings, and then if someone resonates with it, they're like, yeah, I agree, and if they don't, that's also okay, and I'm again okay with that. So I guess this is a bit of a brain dump really, this episode, but I feel like it's important to share because again, there's someone listening right now thinking, oh gosh, I've been thinking that for ages. Do you know what I mean? So I just wanted to share all of this with you, especially because last year, in this time last year, was very hard for me. So what I'm saying here is that I took, again, like I have in my life, a very hard, painful situation, and I took from it what I needed to learn. So what I needed to learn was, again, I need to have better boundaries. I need to cut off people that talk to me like crap. I need to redefine what love looks and feels like to me and through me and for me. And I need to say what I'm not happy about and how I will not be treated ever again. And those are the things that I implemented in my life. So I think it was on my birthday. I went out for my birthday on the 18th of August last year. And that was the start of this little period. And then on the other side of it, I feel like I started to really iron out those creases for sure, cut the people off. And again, when I say cut people off, whenever I've cut people off, it's always been from a place of love. I've never maliciously said to anyone, you're out of order by, like that's never been my reality because that's not how I am as a person. So that'd be really counterintuitive, counterproductive, I guess is the right word to say there, because everything I do is from a place of love and healing, but putting myself first. And that's something that obviously society calls selfish. It's not. We can't carry people with us. We can't. You can't do it. People are going to walk beside you on your journey, travel along with you in the same carriage of the train of life, right? And people will get off on their own stops. Now, I guess in a way, if someone is trying to keep up with you, they keep running to catch up with you and they keep falling back, you can't stop yourself moving forward. You just can't do that, because that actually sabotages not only your growth and where you're heading, but it also sabotages that other person's journey, because actually maybe they're supposed to learn something on their own. And maybe one day they'll take a different route and they'll meet you back on the same path again. Or maybe they won't, and they were just there for that reason and that season, right? And I speak about that a lot because I think that needs to be something we all get okay with doing, is just saying goodbye to people that aren't serving the version of us we are now. And what I mean by serving is energetically, there's not like a mutual exchange there. I don't mean serving as in they don't need to give you anything. It needs to be an exchange. Always, everything needs to be an exchange. There needs to be, you know, either, your wisdom in exchange for support financially, because obviously that's what I don't even want to say support financially. Like for me, for example, obviously I'm a mentor, so I guide women into finding a holistic solutions based approach to their mental health and well-being so that they can become their most empowered self. So the exchange for me in giving my value in my wisdom is that I'm financially exchanged for that. Whereas friendship, I don't think it needs to be you did that for me, so I do that for you. It just needs to be a mutual appreciation of each other's values and conversation even, or, the fact that maybe one of you is financially better off. So actually you always pay the bill, but the other friend is the one that always offers the guidance, the wisdom, the love, and then they support them in a way that maybe they always could. There's just like little ways you can do things. It doesn't need to be tit for tat. I don't want that to ever be the thing that you get from that. It needs to be a flow of an exchange. And when I start to look at my life in that way, I can see like what really works as well in functions of businesses as well from that. Because I think that, sometimes, for example, if your boss wants you to do overtime and you don't have the capacity, but you have, turned up to a work mixer because the secretary couldn't go and you stood in for her, that's a good exchange. You don't need to worry about that. But equally, I feel like in a work environment, when you work in a workplace, you are just intended to be there for the time that you work. You don't need to do anything past that. And that's a boundary that you need to have for you. The exchange there is you work, you get paid, right? But if it's a friend that you work for, then maybe there are a bit more looser areas. And that's something that you need to work on for you. But equally, the only way that you'll do that is when you know what you need and you want for you first. And that's what all of my work comes back down to, is that sovereignty. You need to find what it is that you want in your life, what your boundaries are, what you're willing to accept, what you're not willing to accept, and move from that space. Because ultimately, that is really where everything grows. Like you are your own garden, so you need to be watering yourself. That's saying the grass is greener on the other side. You might be looking at someone and they look like this whole blooming beautiful bunch of flowers, but then for them they've got a space at the back where there's nothing, no flowers there, because they can't water their own back. So then they need support from someone else to like come and water them as well, equally. But you might only see the front of yourself, not realizing that actually all of your sides are blooming. So it's like we can do that all the time, that comparison, again, as I say, thief of joy. But when you can tend to yourself and your own needs, know what you want, that's when life opens up in front of you. And that's where I'm at right now. Because as I said, in this difficult time last year, I didn't go into victim mode of why me. Now, don't get me wrong, I had a moment of it. I'm not going to lie to you, because it was really painful old things and old trauma wounds that, came up. But that Venus retrograde did that on purpose, because from that experience, I know exactly what I want from love, from life, from people. I asserted the boundaries that allow the people in my life still to meet me where I need to be met, but also for myself in, like I did meet someone. I was with someone for a couple of months like this last year. That didn't work out. But what was really lovely about that is it was a stepping stone closer to the person that I will be with. And that's a really nice thing for me, because I don't ever see anything as wasted time. There is never wasted time for me, apart from doom scrolling. When my clients love to doom scroll, I'm not a doom scroller, because I'm like more aware of the fact that I'm on my phone doing this. But equally, if that's recreation for you and you can justify it, that's fine. But again, self-awareness, awareness of things, all of that, blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, everything that I learned in that time, now I'm reaping the rewards of, because I took action, right? And now I don't believe in, again, taking too much action to the point where we are just moving forward at 100 miles an hour, blazing through everything. Like an old toxic version of me would have gone into work mode to try to cover up the way I was feeling about those hard things. Whereas now, from having the toolkit, I was like, right, why do I feel this way? What is causing that feeling? And what do I need to do about it? And those three simple questions opened up this whole, platform of everything that I, got to do as an exchange of that. And I'm really glad that I did, go through that last year, because the richness, as I said, that I feel now, I know that I wouldn't have been able to feel that. And for me, again, that's where we come into that place of being in so much softness, surrender, and peace that I have been receiving this whole month. I've just allowed myself to receive, love, support, lovely things like gifts, treats. People wanted to do nice things for me for my birthday, and I've been able to really enjoy that 100% and accept it. And that's a massive part of it. Is like when we come out of, moving at 100 miles an hour, we get back into our bodies, we feel safe in who we are. And again, that's the structure that I created for myself, the boundaries I created for myself, the understanding of myself and what my needs are and how they need to be met. That's all structure. So I imagine it, and I've said this before, like it's like pillars inside of me that are set. They keep me up, they keep me strong. And then in between that, my feminine energy gets to flow. And that's where I get to receive and I get to give as a result of that. Like even down to I'm doing the free recalibration calls at the moment for anyone that wants to come and have a conversation. I've got 2 left for this month, which is just really lovely. So I'm looking forward to kind of again, speaking to anyone that wants to be spoken to, in regards to like seeing where, the gaps are in your life. But equally, like when I have been speaking to people now, I've just got so much love and wisdom to give that it's really nice. I feel like I've fully recharged from, I guess, from the last 6 months. And even in that, the last 6 months were lovely. They were hard in some ways because of, just juggling lots of different things. But now I'm in a space where I'm about to enter this new stage of the way I do business, the way I do my life, and it's exciting. And I feel like if I hadn't stopped to pause, to just take account of that, to be in the moment, to be in my body, I never would have, being able to receive for one, but I guess prepare for this next level. And I think that now I'm starting to feel these shifts come in where I'm like, okay, it's been really lovely to enjoy life, but I need to start to move things a little bit more forward. So I'm just getting into like action taking mode now, but from a place of from a space of peace and flow and aligned action and not forced action, which is obviously all of the things. So I feel like I've had a little bit of a conversation with you today rather than a teaching necessarily, but I feel like, to be honest, those are the episodes that some of you really like. So I'm glad. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Just to sit with me in my morning before I get ready for another birthday treat, which again I'm super grateful for. Just been living my best life, to be honest, guys, not gonna lie to you, which, you know what, I bloody deserve, and so do you. So I hope that you get to just receive more. And on that, I am doing a free masterclass. So if you are listening to time, I'm hosting this masterclass on Tuesday, the 27th of August, and it's all about getting ready for September. So, you know what I'm saying about how I've had a really beautiful, abundant August, and now I'm ready to kind of step forward into this next level of, you know, what my career looks like, what my goals are, what my dreams are, what I'm ready to manifest in. This is what this masterclass is for. So, it's the September setup for women who are ready to revolutionize their life. You know, if you have felt like the last few months have been lovely, but equally you haven't quite achieved everything that you wanted to, and maybe you suffer from procrastination like a lot of my clients do, maybe you do manifest and stuff and you've got the odd thing here and there, but you haven't quite manifested everything on your list, and you're looking for like a fail-proof way of doing things, then you need to be at this masterclass, because essentially that's what I'm going to be covering. I have achieved in the last 6 months everything that I put on my list, and it's only because I looked back on it the other day, I was like, oh my gosh, I did all of that, yay. And it was just like a nice moment, right? So I want to share with you all kind of my fail-proof formula to how I do effortlessly, you know, achieve everything I set out to do. And, you know, my number one proven technique for releasing limiting beliefs, because that's something that so many people struggle with. And that's actually the thing that's holding you back. You know, even procrastination, there's a core reason why you procrastinate. I go through all of that stuff. And again, if you are thinking about, you know, taking your life to this next level, you don't have to do it on your own. As I said about, you know, watching someone be a full garden and in the back of themselves, they've got a patch. That's where, you know, working with someone, being in that supportive environment of learning, that's where you're going to get your grass watered too, right? So yeah, I'd love to invite you to that. So it's free masterclass. If you aren't listening to time, you will be able to watch the replay through the same link. So I'll pop the link in the description, because that'll be live through the month of September for anyone that hadn't watched it live with me. Obviously, I want you to be live because you get to ask questions, you get to be in the energy of everyone in the space, and it's just like that beautiful energy of us all exchanging. So yeah, I'm just going to leave that there for you because I'd love to see you there. And obviously, as I said, I've got 2 recalibration calls left for the month of August. So if you are listening to time again and you'd like one, please do drop me a DM. And I am enrolling my new clients ready for September to begin. So if you are looking for, you know, again, that guidance and support, if you want someone to hold your hand through your journey, to take you from the darkness into the light so you can shine brightly, boldly and unapologetically, achieve your dreams, your manifestations, and live that life that you deserve, then do drop me a DM on my social media about that. I have my 6 calls, or I have 6 months. So depending on what you're at, where you're at in your life right now, whether you're going for a really hard time and you do want that handhold through the 6-month process, or maybe you're just like, you know what, I need to just get clarity on a few things, I need to just tidy up the things in my life so I can then achieve and receive, then the 6 calls are for you. But please do drop me a DM about all of that, and obviously follow the links in my little bio of my podcast, because obviously that's where all of the details are. But yes, I am wishing you a beautiful bank holiday if you're listening to time, and if you aren't listening to time, just thanks for listening, really. And yeah, I will see you guys very soon. So what's going to happen is, if you do listen in a row, I'm going to have another guest on for the last one of this month, and then I'll be off for a couple of weeks in September, but I will have some new guests ready when we come back in October, which will be really lovely, because I've got lots of exciting things that are actually happening in September in my life. So I'm really excited to kind of share with you all what's kind of going on and what I've been up to in that time, because yeah, I'm currently manifesting something really, really big, and I can't wait to tell you about it when it comes through. So yes, I'm sending you so much love and light. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me on this rambly Mercury retrograde journey, but equally the real journey. And that's why I share it, because, you know, keeps it real over here, guys. Send you so much love and light.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, follow and share with someone that you know would benefit. If you're looking to dive in deeper to becoming your most unapologetic, most authentic, shining self, please do head to my website and join my newsletter, where you'll find out about all of my upcoming events and speaking opportunities and all of the things that I have going on. And also, if you would like to work with me, please do drop me a DM on any of my socials or through my website. Love and light.